Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
Yo. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your hostess with the mostest. It's Pastor Keenan Riley, PKR, up in the building. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of People Suck, Love Them Anyways. And as always, I am joined, if you couldn't hear him already making that noise over there, I'm joined by my sidekick, Nick. Nick, talk to me on a governor electoral voting night 2023 in the good state of Kentucky, man. How are you doing?
You made that sound way fancier than it actually is.
I know, man.
I mean, I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. You know, we've been kind of talking about some heavy topics.
Oh, my goodness
before we got started tonight.
As we always say,
like
we talk about an episode before we get to the episode. We have an episode, I feel like, before we get to it. And
yeah, we got to get all the stuff we can't say on here out.
I was going to say, that is exactly what I was going to throw out there, man. I'm like, we get all the stuff that's heavy, that is like, that is unadulterated, that is definitely like rated R maybe type situations. We get those out of the way, and then we bring you the TVG. You know, we bring you the TV God stuff, and
welcome to TBN.
Yeah, make you feel good and pleasant inside, man. So anyways, thank you. Shout out, man, to everybody that's hitting those download buttons and telling your friends and family about the episodes. Thank you so much. Again, we hit Nevada. I guess it depends on where you're from, right, as to how you say it. We hit
I'm sure
that
there's
last
a wrong
week.
way to say it.
Absolutely. And, hey, guess what? We added Ukraine to the list. Ukraine, man. That is amazing. Another solid country.
Pray for them.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So, we added them to the list this week, so that's amazing, man. I'm so thankful that this podcast continues to grow, continues to reach people, and we're not going to let the cat out of the bag too much yet, but it seems like, Nick, that we may have our very first sponsor on board as well, man. I tell you what, whenever we were just two guys in a break room with an iPhone taping our first episode going, yeah, this sucks. This is really horrible.
This sucks about as much as people do.
Yeah, exactly. It sounded like Nick was 4 rooms away talking the whole time. It was so bad. And then now, like a year and a half later, we're hitting different countries, different states. Again, maybe even a sponsorship working out. It's crazy to see how far we've come, how crazy hard work can be, and just to kind of see how things pay off along the way, man.
Yeah, things are coming around, I feel like I just had a stroke, but it's fine.
Well, I set you up to say something positive.
Something positive. And hey, I just had a stroke.
Yeah. And so I guess you made it through the stroke. That's positive, I guess. So,
for now,
Yeah, absolutely, man. So we've just been talking about some different things before we got started tonight. One thing that I think we can include on the episode the other things we can, but I think one thing that we can is we were talking just briefly about government, about elections and things like that. And of course, as we mentioned to start this thing, Kentucky's governor election is tonight and is in the process of going on right now. And it looks like Mr. Beshear is ahead handedly right now with 329,000 votes reported in. But either way, we talked about how, at the end of the day, I think voting is a right. I think it's a privilege. However you feel about voting, I think that's your prerogative. But as we've talked about tonight, and even as I thought about, Nick, before we even got started tonight, I feel like, and I thought about even posting this on Facebook in the morning, I feel like that if we would work on ourselves and change ourselves as much as we wanted the people in office to change, and I'm not even talking about changing their personalities. I'm talking about just changing people. Mm-hmm. I think if we would often work on ourselves as much as what we wanted the people in office to change, I don't think it would even matter at that point who was in office anymore. You know what I'm saying? I don't think. I mean, I don't know. You may have a different perspective on that, but that's just something that
a lot of people don't like my perspective on government.
A lot of people don't like you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. I'm a ray of sunshine in most people's lives.
Man, I tell you what, man, I have to take preparation H every time I get around you.
But loosen you up a little bit.
No, my. Yeah, so, but I truly think that if we would continue to work on ourselves, that if we would put in the same effort, man, and you know how it is whenever that people talk about this all the time. There's things you don't talk about. You don't talk about politics. You don't talk about religion. You don't talk about this stuff. If you don't want to get in an argument, you don't talk about it. But again, we've known all day long that this is, this is the day that you vote. Because
if you can't tell,
here we go.
On Facebook.
There you go. I know you've already going to hit it up.
Look at them I voted stickers, or if you were the fancy people, I heard people are giving out I voted bracelets this year. Or something
really?
Like that. Yeah.
Man.
Like apparently that Jefferson County money. They can't fix the homeless population, but they can give out bracelets
or the schools.
Yeah, or the schools, or the buses,
or
the bus driver situation right there is awful.
Yeah, or empower the police officers any more than what they do. So
Jefferson County sucks, if you can't tell. I'm sorry for those Louisville listeners who disagree with me.
Right. But yeah, man, do you think about that? People are so drawn to this, and it's like, oh, I'm supporting this, and I'm doing that, and I'm behind this person 1,000%. And we talked about it, like in being as Christians, as people who support Jesus first and foremost.
Jesus 2023.
You're right. Like, yeah, help us, Lord. But whenever you talk about supporting people, we talked about like voting policy and things like that. Like, there's no perfect candidate, there's no perfect person, and if you do pull that trigger and you go in and that's Keenan, all right, let's go back and X that one out. Well, I probably shouldn't have said that. If you do decide to vote,
FBI agent listening to this, exactly, we are not planning a political assassination at any point.
We got to go back on that one.
Yeah.
If you do decide to go out and vote, it's like you have to pick. I don't know if you say you pick the lesser of two evils. I don't know if you say, well, you pick the best.
I hate that mindset.
You do, man. And it's like you talk about policies and you talk about that, and it's like, do people even do what they promise half the time?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, and so then we go back to the Bible, and it talks about Jesus putting kings on thrones, taking kings off of thrones, like having control of that kind of stuff, and things like that. And so then it's like, well, I know you made the comment. It's like, well, if he's doing that, then why does my vote even matter? And then people have like this stance of people fighting, died, and everything else, to give you that right to vote. And I'm like, well, yeah, but they also gave me a right to eat cheeseburgers and go to church, and and
people don't even do that,
to be free, exactly. and so seeing, that's what I'm saying, though, man. That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like people get so tied up in something that at the grand scheme of things, that doesn't even matter.
And that's the point that I made. And if it doesn't really matter who's governor, it doesn't matter who's president, it doesn't matter who's in Congress, doesn't matter who's this, that, or the other. Like, God is in control. Like, He has the final say. He puts kings in and out of power. He is the one who designs everything. Like, He knows how things going to end. And like, He is the final say. He is the king. We serve a king. We don't serve a political party. We don't serve a political candidate. We serve Jesus.
Let me play devil's advocate just for a second, because I know that we might have people who listen who are not believers, or who who don't know Jesus as their Lord and Savior.
Democrats.
God. Yeah, man, I'm praying, because all the Republicans are saved,
absolutely.
right? Absolutely. Even though they're doing insider trading and insider trading and
grabbing them by the and we don't talk about that.
Yeah, sucking millions of dollars out and putting it in their pockets. Nonetheless, if you're talking about people like that, man, how do you tell somebody that isn't a God follower or doesn't have a relationship with Jesus? How do you look at him and say, well, God's in control? And then you look at the world, and it's falling to hell in a handbag. And you're like,
point them to Revelations. God said it would fall into hell.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Whenever let's put this into perspective, because you've got people who haven't had that relationship and don't make that commitment, and all that good stuff, and you look at them, and you're like, well, God's in control. To have no fear, God's in control. And it's like, God's in control because right now they're talking about World War III. Right now they're talking about Russia and China, and they're talking about all of these different places tag teaming up, and we got nuclear war, and we got this and that, and and we got banks that are like literally falling under, and we got gas prices that are through the roof, and inflation and all of this good stuff. And you're going to look at me and say, well, God's in control, He'll take care of it. Like, to me, it's like I think to me it goes a lot deeper than just saying God's in control. Like you have to say it with such a belief and conviction that people believe it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
It's difficult. I think like one of the things that's kind of hitting me as you're saying that is just kind of like, for people who don't believe in God, who don't believe God's in control, who don't believe in all of the Bible or anything that it says, and I guess really one of my biggest questions to them would be, are you expecting a certain political leader? Are you expecting a certain president, a certain governor, a certain policy to save things, to fix things, to be the magic wand that just wipes away trillions of dollars of debt, that just wipes away homelessness, that just wipes away global warming, that just wipes away all these different things, that just makes everything equal and everybody happy and, sunshine, rainbows, all that stuff. What are you expecting a political candidate to do for you? What are you expecting a different president? What are you expecting a new law to do for you, or to do for the world as a whole? What is it going to take? How much time would it take? How much effort? How much money? How much, how many different political candidates in different positions would it take?
What's crazy to me, I feel like, is that we take people for face value, like that are running for office. Like we'll watch commercials, we'll listen to speeches, we'll listen to campaigns, and people will donate, and people will vote, and people will give, and people will commit. And then, like, when that person gets in office, now, what if they don't follow through with everything? What if they go completely opposite of what they promised? What if, that... And
recall
then it's like,
election.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and people are like, well, they done this and they done this, and so
I'm
they
not a crook.
Yeah, so they give them a lot of grace. Like, let's say that they give them a lot of grace, but then let's flip it over to the side of, let's not even talk about elections. Let's just talk about life in general. Let's talk about church. Let's talk about people like that, where it's like we don't give pastors and preachers, we don't give teachers, we don't give people, workers that same grace, where it's like, I promised I would do this, or my word fell through, or I can't follow through on that commitment or that promise, and it's like, oh, well, I'm done with you, or you lied to me, or something like that. And it's like, why do we get so caught up in thinking that these people, these men or women, are going to be, like you said, saviors to our economy, or to our rule systems, or to our lives even? We think that they're just going to come in and save the day because, they're going to put this magical S on their chest and be Superman or Superwoman and fix things. And in true reality, it's like they're going to fall into a system or a construct, and they've got 4 years to battle Congress or to battle whatever, and
battle each other.
Exactly. And it's like, you may see a little change going in one direction or the other, but at the same point in time, they're not that savior that I think so many people think that they are.
Yeah, I mean, we're expecting human beings just like you and me, who've just chosen a different career field,
right,
to make life-altering, world-changing decisions.
Yes,
and they're as flawed as we are. They make just as many mistakes as we do, and they have made as many mistakes as we have.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do we see political candidates we get dirt dug up on them from something they said 27 years ago at a party in college?
Isn't it insane?
And we just forget that people can change. We forget that we've changed. We forget, and bringing God into it, we forget oftentimes the grace, mercy, and forgiveness that God has shown us time and time again.
Yeah.
And we just crucify these other people.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me that we put so much hope, faith, and trust in political parties and political candidates and these people who are literally no different than you or I, and they somehow made enough, or their families made enough money to pay for them to get through law school.
Yeah.
And now they've been in government for 87 years and they're freezing up on stands like Mitch McConnell. It's just like, I don't understand.
Bless his heart.
The mindset of, I guess of a human being to think that another human being is going to be the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that 1,000%. But like going back to what you said about like digging up stuff from 27 years ago, and it's like, and people will take that and run with it, But it's like, if we were to stop and think just for a second, for even ourselves, if we allowed cameras, if we allowed videotaping and all that good stuff in our lives on a daily basis. Oh my God! Like people wouldn't be our friends anymore. I guarantee you that. People wouldn't come to our churches anymore. People wouldn't be in our circles anymore. People wouldn't follow us on Facebook or nothing else, because like people aren't perfect. We're not going to be perfect. None of us are perfect, and we're going to slip up. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to fall short. We're going to do all kinds of stuff wrong. But for us to think, oh man, like Nick, he's going to be the savior of the world. We're just going to ride his back to the top, or or myself, right, or myself, or anybody else, like. There's not one person out there that's going to be the answer to every problem that we're seeing in today's world.
As a matter of fact, somebody is going to pretend to be the answer to every problem we have.
Is that the Antichrist?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
man.
we're going to get a little prophetic. I think that's the right word.
Prophetic,
prophetic.
yeah.
I was like,
I've got a thesaurus.
Yeah, that was
I
my
can
second
give you.
stroke of the night. That's what
Yeah,
happened. It was
yeah.
my second stroke of the night.
I can give you a thesaurus, man. Have you had your blood sugars and stuff checked?
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
You don't know?
I haven't been to the doctor but once this year. So,
That is amazing.
Hey, I know, right?
That
Glory
is
to God.
Hey, absolutely. So, yeah. So the doctor, but the doctor fixed you. Let's put all the hope in the doctor, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. It's crazy to think, that we really do expect, one, like we think every election is going to be the election. I feel like we treat it that way.
Oh, yeah.
We think every presidential election is going to be what determines. I mean, I guess in a sense, it determines what the United States is going to look like for the next 4 years. But and again, I think that's where we get in trouble of being so close-minded. We only worry about us. We don't worry about the rest of the world right now. I mean, there's wars going on in other worlds, and whether or not you agree, other worlds in this world, other countries, whether or not you agree
there
with
may be other worlds out
right,
there.
There may be. Who
that,
knows?
bro.
Yeah, aliens are real. Apparently, we talked about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
A few
Welcome
episodes
to
back.
23, man.
Right.
Welcome to 2023.
But we get so caught up in every election, just worry, and again, yeah, it may change the way the United States looks for 4 years. It may change some foreign policies. Again, it determines whether or not we get involved in wars in other countries. It determines if we give money to other countries,
Shout
all these
out to
sorts
Ukraine.
of things, right? Yep. Shout out to Ukraine.
Shout out to Ukraine.
We've given you enough money. Anyway, so again, it's just so many different things going on in the world, and we think that one person is going to be the answer to all of it. We think one person, can fix every single problem that we have, and thank God we have Elon Musk to fix every problem that we have.
Yeah, man. He's sending satellites.
Yeah,
up
he's
into
sending
space,
satellites.
Rockets.
He's buying Twitter.
Yes.
All kinds of stuff. Richest man in the world, or at least one of them. And I like. I mean, this is kind of off track, but I like how I think I don't know how accurate this is, but I'm pretty sure somebody was like, hey, why don't you use all your money to like end world hunger? And he's like, if you give me a plan to do it, I'll do it. And then nobody ever gave him a plan.
Yeah,
He was like,
I think he challenged the government actually and said, if you show me a plan of how you're going to distribute the money, to take care of this, then I'll donate the money. And and I mean, true statement. True statement. But I mean, like I was thinking about that too, about like political processes and things like that. And just I know we're talking, in Kentucky, but just again, presidential type stuff, which is coming up. Next November in 24.
God help us.
God help us all, right? Absolutely. But whoever goes in, whether it's, if it's an opposing political party, at that moment in time, it takes that opposing political party about 2.5 years to kind of start reversing and start doing, different things than what the other party did.
It's like we're just playing Uno, man.
Pretty much, and that's what I'm saying. Like that's where I really feel like we as Americans, we as Christians,
lose.
Do what? What'd you say?
I said lose.
Lose? What are
I don't know. The world.
No, I was like, what? I was like, what is that? What is happening? But I feel like that we are so. Like we feel like our lives hang, like you said, in the balance of whoever's sitting in office, and it's like all we're doing is basically just we're stuck in this cycle of I don't like what you've done, so I'm going to change it, and I don't like what you've done, so I'm going to change it, and I'm going to change it back, and I'm going to change it back, and I'm going to change it back, and so like for us to sit back as Christians and believe that like oh my God, like this person is going to come in and save the day, and this person believes this, and this person's going to do this, and everything else, it's like, where is our true hope at? Where is our true trust at? If we're not leaning on Jesus, and if we're not believing in Him, and if we're not trying to live our life for Him, and if we're not like doing the best that we can for Him, then I mean, like, yes, like I'm sure probably what you're seeing in the world right now is scaring you to death. I mean, I'm sure it is. You don't have to look very far at all, whether it be a news outlet, whether it be TikTok, whether it be social media, it doesn't matter, man. Like, you don't have to look very far at all to see everything that is breaking down in the world right now. And if you don't have Jesus for your hope and for your salvation and for your light and things like that, like, I bet you're getting pretty scared. I bet you're doomsdaying it right now. I bet, you've done pull money out of the bank and you're burying it in little glass jars out in the field. And, you've done put back 3 years of food and 26 days worth of water and done bought up $5 million worth of bullets and like everything else. And we're about to go, Will Smith type, like iRobot, I feel like situation maybe. I don't know. But To me, at the end of the day, we talk about this process, and we talk about voting, and we talk about people, and we talk about cycles and situations like that. But it's like, if we would just sit down, man, as people of faith and read the Bible, the Bible, it's pretty simple.
It's the book for me.
Yeah, right. If we would just sit down and read that, man, I don't think we would be shocked at all by what's going on. I don't think that we would. I don't think that we would be so. I feel like caught up in political worlds and scandals and sides and things like that. Like I think if we would just lean on what we're supposed to lean on, which is the Word of God, I truly feel like that we would go to bed and sleep sound tonight no matter what the situation is, and we would know that He has our tomorrows in His hand, and He's going to take care of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like another one of those things we've talked about time and time again about a testament to your faith level.
Yeah.
Just like, how much do you have more faith in a political party than you have in Jesus?
Right.
And as we were just talking, I thought of something. I had to type it out before I forget it. But I was like, what if we told people to go to church as much as we tell them to go vote?
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that really hit me, right?
Yeah.
I know. Go vote all
Yeah.
over the place today. And I know a lot of those people that said go vote are Christians, and I've never once heard them say go to church.
Go to church, right.
I've never seen a single post of theirs.
Yeah.
Or, for the most part, where there's like, hey, go to church. Hey, come to my church. Hey, or, God knows they don't share, the church's stuff that they put out, but they'll share Daniel Cameron stuff all over Facebook.
Oh, man.
And it's just, and I think,
I made that statement the other night to somebody. I said, it's funny because somebody will share Aunt Susie's sausage ball recipe, but nobody knows where they go to church at.
Yep. If you are known by what political candidate you support instead of Jesus, then something's wrong.
Oh, absolutely, 1,000%.
If you claim to be a Christian,
right? Let's just be honest. Like if you're known by values instead of your belief in Jesus Christ, and I'm not saying like your values should match your belief and your relationship, but what I'm saying is that like if people know that you are dead set against abortion, but they don't know you're a Christian, that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, or if people know that you're dead set against whatever, but they don't know you're a Christian, or that you're for something and they don't know you're a Christian, then like that's an issue. That's a problem. Like, first and foremost, before anything happens, before anything hits the fan, before it's red or blue, donkey or elephant, anything like that, like we should let people know that we are disciples of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and I mean, and that was something I heard on Christian radio this morning. Was that term or phrase, however you want to call it, but it was like vote your values.
Yeah.
And I think, we talked a little bit before the recording about my feelings about that,
about values,
about voting your values. Because I think this goes back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, is that we're voting for people who are flawed.
Yeah.
We're voting for people who've made mistakes, voting for people who say one thing and do another, that they're a different way in private than they are in public. So that's why I've told Keenan, I've told a lot of other people, I said it's really hard for me to do that, to vote my values, because my values go against any political candidate.
Right.
You there's not a single political candidate out there that's going to be 100% Christian. And Jesus isn't running for office.
Right.
And so if I vote for Daniel Cameron, there's things that he supports or he's said or he's done or he does that aren't biblical, that aren't Christian. Same with Andy Bashir. Very obviously in some cases, but again, either way you vote, you're talking Donald Trump, Joe Biden, you're talking, whoever it is that you're talking about, we can say that, the Republican way is the Christian way to vote. Is it? Yeah. I mean, is it? I mean, how many Republicans out there that are in office are having affairs? How many Republicans in office are cussing out their secretary? Right. How many Republicans in office are grabbing them by the you-know-what? Like how many Republicans out there are doing things that aren't Christian?
Because again, you're, like you said, voting values or policy or what, but really it's like you're putting hope and faith into somebody that's going to fail you, because they are not going to follow through with every promise that was made. Just like me, you, or anybody else. Like we may promise you the moon and the stars and everything else, but are we going to come through on every promise? Are we going to? I'll tell you what, man. One of the craziest things that I ever learned was I was actually a part of an election in 4th grade. And you know what it taught me? It taught me that
people suck.
Yes, it absolutely did. But it taught me that if you promise people enough and if you give people enough, people will believe you regardless. And after you're in, like, unless there's this huge uprising and lynching that's going to take place or whatever the case is, like, after you're in, then guess what? There's nothing they can do. Like 4 years, 2 years, whatever. But, like, I can remember, man, like, we as bold as you can be in fourth grade, it's like, I'm going to give you
more recess time.
That is exactly what I said, bro. I don't know. Was you there? No, absolutely not. You weren't born yet. Yeah, you weren't born yet. But, like, no joke. Like, you said stuff that related to them.
Stuff that you can't even do.
Stuff that you can't do. That's what I'm saying. Like, that is exactly what I'm saying. And that is exactly what...
Tickle the ears of people.
Yes, exactly. And I actually heard a preacher talking about that today, that as long as we're willing to have our ears tickled, there will always be room for false prophets. And that hit me hard, man, because I'm like, how many... Like... If we're so caught up in feeling good and feeling good and feeling good and feeling good, because that's what how can I say this? I feel like that voting makes us feel good, like we've done something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
just like sending money to those kids over in Africa.
Exactly.
Makes us feel good.
Absolutely. Like, I help little Shaquita or whatever.
God, that was racist.
Yeah, it was. I got to back that up a little bit. I help little
you
Tammy.
You helped Janelle over in South Africa.
Yeah, I help little Tammy over there. And so, to me, it's like that. It's like if we feel like we've done something good, and if we feel like that, then it's like, oh man, like I've changed the world. I don't know. Like you've changed the world by what? By casting one vote. You're putting.
Congratulations on your participation.
Exactly.
Trophy.
You're putting a lot of authority and stuff. Now it's making you feel good because you want the Now here's the deal. And here's where I think we get in trouble. We want the person who closely matches what makes us feel good to get in there and make the decisions that would make us feel good. Not that would help us grow, not that would help us communicate better, not that would help us build a bridge to people, not that would help us progress, but we want the person that would closely identify and align that would make us feel the most comfortable. Now, that's very dangerous, especially whenever we get into church and spiritual and things like that, because as I was listening to this preacher say today, we go in churches and we go in conferences and we go on Zoom calls and we read books and we listen to tapes and or whatever, podcasts and shows. We do that stuff because we want to feel good. And we don't pick the stuff that challenges. We don't pick the stuff that we don't want to hear. We pick the stuff that is uplifting, that is motivational, that is inspirational, that will literally keep feeding into the lifestyle and the stuff that we're living. And as he said, if we're willing to keep our ears being tickled, then we will allow room for false prophets. And those false prophets are not worried about teaching you the Word of God. They're worried about teaching the flesh to maintain your life. And if that's the case, then they're leading you further away from God. They're not impacting and encouraging you with the Word of God. They're leading you away from God Himself by doing that. And so to me, like, signing up for a conference or going to vote or going whatever, like, it's not the fact that I've changed anything whatsoever. I have to really sit down and, again, as I said, I feel like 37 minutes ago now, deep into the conversation, I feel like that if we were to work on ourselves as much, if we were to go out and say, what do I want to change? What do I want to change in this world? What do I want people to be nicer to each other? Well, then you know where that starts at, Nick. It starts by me being nice to people. I can't as Michael,
thoughts and prayers are great, but there has to be something behind them.
Well, there has to be action behind it.
Like I talked about a couple weeks ago, compassion is empathy in motion. Like, you can feel bad for a certain group of people. You can feel for a certain person. You can, side on this side. You can say, I support you. But until you actually make steps, and voting is not a step. It's not.
Right.
Like, going out there and voting for a certain political candidate, it's not a step.
Yeah.
It's just something that you do. It's it's just something you throw out there and you do.
Well, the crazy part is, and I'll let you go on, but the crazy part is how many of these people have we ever met and hung out with in person? And I'm not talking about going to a fundraiser. I'm not talking about going to a dinner. I'm not talking about shaking a hand and getting a photo op. What I'm talking about is I'm talking about going home, kicking your feet up on the couch, taking your shoes off, picking their brain, being around them. Hey, what do you think about this?
Not
hey,
picking fights.
This? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not picking fights, but trying to learn.
Trying to learn from something, things like that. Like we don't even know these people. You know, we don't know a lot about them. We don't know their innards and outwards of lives and things like that. The decisions they made behind closed doors, like you said, we don't know that stuff. And so for us to, again, you know, let me drive this home again. For us to see true change, then we have to be that voice of change, or that action of change that we truly want to see.
Yeah, I mean, because again, you're throwing a vote out there. You have no idea if that political person, if that candidate, whoever it's going to be, we don't know if they're actually going to do anything that's going to make a difference.
Right.
You know, you can vote all day long, but you know, if you're not, you know, out there, you know, going to protests, talking to people, donating money, donating time, you know, writing bills, or you know, like doing these things that are going to actually make things happen.
Yeah.
Then you know what good is it? What is it other than a participation trophy?
Right.
You know, what is it other than I say, oh yeah, I'm on that team, or I'm on that side, or you know, I belong to this, or I belong to that. Well, what are you doing? You know, where's the evidence of that? Oh, you say you support this group of people, you say you support this type of situation, or these type of people, but like where is that? Oh, I voted for Joe Biden. Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that all you did?
Yeah.
You know, and so to me, it's just a superficial thing. Like, you know, it's a superficial way for us to say that we support something. To say, I support this, or I support that.
One thing that I said from the stage a couple of weeks ago is that just because it's not happening here doesn't mean it's not happening. You know,
until it hit close to home.
Exactly. And, you know, I reference like school shootings and things like that. Like, you know, we live in rural Kentucky, and so there's, you know, things like that doesn't happen around here every day. Now, you're in New York, you're in L.A., you're in Chicago, you're in, you know, these different places where, you know, you see things like that happen. And it's the same way with like racism. You know, just because I'm 38 years old, I'm white. How old are you?
26.
26, and you're white. You know, just because racism doesn't happen to us doesn't mean that it is not existent in the world. You know, and so for me to be able to change, you know, the way that people experience that, then you know what? I got to sit down with somebody. I got to have a conversation with somebody that's been through that maybe got selected because of their color, got overlooked because got treated differently. I got to sit down with that person, and I got to have a conversation and say, what happened? What happened in the mix? You know, like what? Like let me get your side of it, and then like I have to be more subconsciously thinking about things like that, about other people going, you know what, like, yeah, man, like, you know, maybe something was said, something was done, maybe it was the way something was presented or something that literally caused this person to be left out. And then as we make that change individually, guess what happens? It starts to collect momentum around us to where, you can be a change and you can see something different happen. And it's based on people looking in the mirror, not putting the I think that's the biggest problem, is that we put the priority on other people to make the change. And I feel like once we do that, then we take the responsibility. We feel like we take the responsibility off us. But in all essence, it starts with us. The responsibility of change, the responsibility of building that bridge of, like you said, empathy, things like that. It starts with us. It starts with, as Michael Jackson would say, the man in the mirror. Yep. And when we look at that and go, how can I be better? How can I treat people better? How can I understand people better? You know, things like that, because we all come from different walks, different backgrounds, different situations, you know, and things like that. And one key thing that you hit on before we even got on here, we were talking about the election and things like that, talking about the different commercials and things like that. And one of the things that one of the commercials that Bashir put on, you said that was, and I didn't see it, but Nick said he saw it. So, you know, y'all throw rocks at Nick. But anyways, but you know, he saw it about a girl who had been raped by her uncle,
some family
or
member,
family
stepdad,
member, yeah,
something like
that. So it was by a close family member,
somebody close to her.
Yes, and so she ended up having an abortion, right?
Yep, she got pregnant by this family member,
and ended up having an abortion. And Bashir really hit on that. And, of course, everybody knows that Cameron is very anti-abortion. You know what I'm saying? And
as a good Christian should be.
Yes, and whether or not you are for it, against it, whatever, you know, to sit down and have a conversation. You've never been, and I'm not going to say you've never been. Let me say this. I've never been. Nick has never been. A lot of people have never been in the situation where you have been molested or you have been, you know, taken advantage of by a family member in such a way that it life altered, changed your world, and you conceived a child through it. And in that essence, in that time, in that moment, we might be able to stand back and go, well, you shouldn't have done this and you shouldn't have done that. And
it's very easy to look at it and be like, well, what if that child turned out to be the cure for cancer? Or like, what if that, God, you're saying God couldn't use that child. That's not what we're saying. Like, it's more so just you have to look at some of these things as an individual. Yes, abortion is wrong. Right. Like, we're both Christians. Yes, and that's biblically, abortion is wrong. Right. But what we're saying is, don't point fingers at somebody and tell them that they're, evil or hateful or, don't sit there until you've had a conversation with them.
Been in that moment.
Put yourself in that shoe of that person. Yeah. It's very easy to be like, you shouldn't have been wearing that. That's why that happened to you.
Right, exactly.
But then it happens to your daughter.
Yeah.
Or it's your sister.
Yeah, and then
or your girlfriend.
Then what happens? Then where do we go to? Then and that's what I'm saying. Like, just because it doesn't happen to you doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And it's easy to sit back and judge. It's easy to throw darts. It's easy to make assumptions until you're in the middle of it. And then you want grace from everybody. Once it happens to you, you want grace from everybody.
Yeah, you don't understand. You don't know what it's like. You don't understand it.
Exactly.
If it just happened to you, then you'd understand it.
If it was your family, if it was your, whatever. And I think what I'm trying to say is, and hopefully Nick agrees with me, is that, like in that essence of a situation, you have to sit down, you have to have a conversation, and it is not our job by any means as Christians to pass judgment. That is not our job. Our job is to love people. Our job is to show people Christ. Our job is to help people get to Jesus the best way possible. But our job is not to pass judgment. If anything, I would have. I would have listened to that little girl's story, and the first thing I would have been, to me, like within my heart right now, I want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I'm sorry you had to experience that. I'm sorry that you felt like there wasn't a way out. I'm sorry that the emotional trauma, the God, like, how long is it going to be before she ever recovers from that? If she ever recovers, like. There's so many aspects of that we can look at where I'm just like, you know what, man, that girl doesn't need condemnation. That girl needs a hug. She needs some love. She needs, she she needs stuff like that. And as Christians, that's what I'm saying. Like, we get into this political landscape and people cut throats and people lose friendships, people lose followers, man, I tell you what, and I maybe I said this to you, I don't know what, but I'm like, I've said this oftentimes before, is that if you're going to make a mountain out of it, you best be willing to die on that mountain. Like if it's that important that you're going to make a mountain out of it, you best be willing to die on it, because you're going to lose a lot of people, and you're going to lose a lot of ears and a lot of eyes. And to me, I'll tell you my opinion about anything if you ask me. But at the end of the day, my job is not to state my opinion. My job is to stay as close to the Bible as I can, and to offer as much love, grace, and mercy as I can, and to point people towards Jesus as much as I can. And if I do that, I feel like I'm doing pretty good. Do I fail? Absolutely. Can I get better? Absolutely. But like that's my prerogative. That's my goal. Each day.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we've thrown a lot of things out there tonight. We've had, I think,
it's been all over the board.
It's been all over the board like usual with our podcast. Pretty usual for us. And I think really just at the end of the day, and we've talked a lot. I say we preach on this all the time on this podcast, is to be more empathetic. Yeah, to take that step out of your comfort zone, to reach across the aisle, to build bridges instead of walls. Because I'm telling you right now, because I can already see it. I can already see it in my mind on the Facebook feed tomorrow morning. Whoever wins, it's going to be argument. It's going to be fights. Well, I guess we're in for another year of hell on earth, right. Thank God we finally got a different thing. It's going to be there. Yep. You are going to see whoever's listening right now. You may be looking at Facebook posts, listening to this right now, so where people are yelling at each other, fighting each other, cussing each other out, being angry, all these sorts of things. Building walls is all they're doing. Yeah, and what we're doing is we're trying to call you, we're trying to ask you, we're trying to plead with you to please build bridges instead of walls. Yep. Reach out and discuss. why is it, and the other person has a responsibility as well to be cordial and to be, and to be thankful that somebody, instead of arguing with them, is just trying to learn.
Right.
And again, just try to say, oh, why do you feel this way? Well, my son came out as transgender, and it was a very difficult decision for him, and he struggled with suicidality, and he thought he was going to kill himself because of it, because he didn't feel normal, he didn't feel right, whatever it may be, or hey, my girlfriend, she was sexually assaulted, and she was just wearing sweatpants, and everybody calls her, words I'm not going to say on here because we're going to get banned, but
hooker.
Yeah, there you go. And it's
clean.
just, pretty clean for it. But again, just until we take that step and we start talking to people who've been through things that we haven't been through, until we're willing to learn from other people's experiences, then we're never going to grow. We're never going to be able to help other people. We're never going to empathize with people that God has called us to reach. We're always going to be that person throwing stones instead of, building an altar and praying and working and trying to build bridges, you can build a bridge with stones.
Absolutely.
And again, just try to do that.
Yep.
I think that's something that, I try my best to do that. And I've been put in situations where God has grown my empathy, and I've always been a highly empathetic person anyway. One of the most I'm not bragging here. It's just I really do believe God has given me the gift of empathy. It has allowed me to relate to a wide variety of people from a wide variety of backgrounds through situations that maybe I even haven't been through specifically. But again, I've been through different situations in my life that allow me to relate to a lot of different things and a lot of different people. Not everybody is like that. It's very hard. I know people in my own family who have not a single empathetic bone in their body. And I've talked to them, and it's very difficult to have conversations with those people. Don't be those people. Try to be more empathetic. Yep. Take the step. It may go against, and this is hard, I know it is. It may go against everything in your body to talk to these people, to reach across the aisle and to talk to somebody who represents everything you're against. It's very difficult to do that. It's very hard to do that, but I promise you that it's rewarding. If you can love everybody, you can love all of God's creation, it's going to free you, not bind you.
Right.
And again, you're not trying to have your mind changed. You're not trying to change their mind. You're just trying to learn. You're trying to hear from their experience. Because again, until you've been in that situation where you've had a kid that's trying to transition, where you've had a kid who's questioning their, sexuality, where you've had a family member who's been sexually assaulted, or you've had a family member who's had to have an abortion, or you've had a family member who's been racially profiled, or a loved one who's gone through, all those sorts of things. Until you've experienced that firsthand, you're not going to truly understand it.
Right.
And that's why it's very important to take that step, to reach across the aisle, to build a bridge of stones rather than throw them at each other. And like I said, tomorrow you're going to see it all over Facebook, especially if you live here in Kentucky or anybody else that's doing elections right now. You're going to see it all over the place. People yelling at each other, people calling each other names, people saying the meanest, most hateful stuff all over the place. You're going to see it. And I'm going to challenge you, number one, don't join in. And number two, talk to these people.
Right.
Have an actual conversation with them. Not a fight, not an argument. Just try to talk to them. Try to learn from their experience. Try to see things through their lens. Because again, they grew up a different way. They've experienced different things. They have had friends that have dealt with things you didn't deal with. And again, I know a lot of the things that I've said alone just, are going to cause people to get those like, what is he saying? I don't like that. I don't like what he's saying. And again, I'm not sitting here saying that what the Bible said is wrong. Sin is sin. What the Bible says is sin is sin.
Right.
But what I'm saying is we have been called to love people, and we can't love people until we talk to them, until we get to know them, until we reach across the aisle, until we love on them.
Yep.
We're not going to get to know them. All we're doing is pushing people away. All politics does is push other people away.
Yep.
All taking a stance does is going to push people away sometimes, and you have to be wise about the stances that you take.
Yep, absolutely, man, and that's wore me out enough to say good night.
Absolutely.
So, as we always say, tell your friends, tell your family, man. Tell people about this podcast. Tell them to hit that download button, and so we can go ahead and accomplish all 50 states, and we can just get in some more countries while we're at it. So thank you so much for being a part of this, and we love you guys. Be blessed, and until we see you again, man, just remember, God loves you. He's for you. He's working for you. All you got to do is just turn to Him. We love you. Thank you.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go,
As always, this is PKR, and for my sidekick Nick, we say thank you very much for hitting that download button on People Suck, Love Them Anyways. Be sure to tell a friend, tell a family member to hit that download button as well. And as always, we say thank you. Be blessed.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go, go, go.